wanted to allow people time to get in.
So log in, see if it's landscape. Probably not.
Are you live?
Yeah. Somebody's viewing. Logging in as you? Are you in as you?
Mm-hmm.
You logged off?
Did I log?
Yeah. Were you? Oh, you aren't on there.
No, it's not horizontal. There you go.
Oh, so introduce us. What we're about to do.
Where it is. So we're about to have a conversation with Brandon about a father's perspective on infant loss, if we can get this together. But a lot of technical difficulties.
All right. Yeah.
Gonna give people time to come in. Natasha Keenan, where are you?
It's not that bright.
I'll say it first.
As y'all can tell, we have been done this very many times, so don't judge me.
Or at all. And I do judge him because he's a procrastinator.
Bruh. Procrastinator.
Better than being a procrastinator.
It hasn't blown up in my face yet, so
Boo.
I made it through graduate school procrastinator, so still up.
Let's see that. Tasha, are you on? Send us a message. You ready?
I know you, bro. Or Tasha.
Oh, I don't know where she is. Hi everyone. Tomeka and Brandon. That's Brandon. So a lot of you know our story, but what a lot of people don't ever hear is a father's side. Y'all know Brandon talks all the time, so you hear his side very frequently. But today I'm actually going to interview him with some questions he actually wrote about his perspective on infant loss, because what we rarely hear is the father's side. So, first, I would like to say you made a wonderful choice of a wife. She's amazing.
How humble are we? Okay.
Just saying. I've met her a couple times and she's really nice. So let's get into it. So about 2 years ago,
Yeah.
We were pregnant, me more so than you.
Yeah.
And we ended up in a situation that most parents never want to be in,
Right.
or all parents never want to be in. What would you say to a grieving father?
That's a tough one. Because everybody's situation is different. So, I would say don't compare yourself to others. Like, don't compare your situation to other people's situation, because nobody's experiences are the same, and nobody goes through the birthing process the same. So, sometimes it might take people a while to come to grips with having a baby, and they might not develop an attachment early on. They might develop attachment later on, in pregnancy, whereas I developed at the beginning. But as far as the grief aspect, it's everybody's journey is different. So you have to give yourself time, and not don't expect to be okay, like at the beginning, or on somebody else's timetable, because everybody has their opinion on when you should start feeling good, or when you can go back to work, or when you can do the things that you were doing before you lost the baby. So I would just say go on your own timetable and do what helps you and what's best for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Question number 2. What was or is the most challenging thing that you've had to deal with?
What was the most challenging thing I had to deal with? It's a couple things. I guess the most challenging thing was going back to work. Still thinking about you, and still thinking about still, like, with losing him, everything was so fresh, and then going back to work and still worrying about if you were gonna be okay, like when you were getting out the hospital, if the doctors were providing the right amount of care, like just what we were gonna do going forward, like what the new normal was gonna be. It was that part was hard, and then as time progressed, the most challenging thing was seeing other kids or other babies or like other families with children. So it's like, oftentimes, like I'll think like Jace should be 2 years old, or like what type of person he would have become, or like just
It's okay. It's okay to not be okay.
like how he would have like played with other kids, and just what type of child he would have been, like if he would have been like jumping off of stuff, yeah, silly, because he was real energetic, like going through the pregnancy. So we felt him kick a lot and move a lot and all that stuff. So just thinking like, would he be like a kid that sleeps all the time, or or would he play all the time, like how would he get along with our neighbors, or like we took him somewhere with what would he do, like how would we be as parents and stuff. So
Crazy.
yeah, so it's just, and then sometimes it can be challenging, like trying to keep your thoughts straight, just trying to stay focused, because I remember uh afterwards, like anxiety was real bad, so it was just trying to deal with a new normal, because like going through the pregnancy, the expectancy is that once when you come to term with the pregnancy, you're supposed to be a new person. We're supposed to be taking care of a new person. We're supposed to be making arrangements for a new person, and it's like you get all of that set up, you start doing all that stuff, and then so you mentally prepare yourself for that, and then it's taken away, and there's nothing you can do. So it's like you you have to find a new way to deal with all that, and nobody nobody can tell you how to do it, because there's no blueprint for it. So
and everybody's different.
Yeah, so it's not like a cookie cutter scenario where you'll be, all right, expect to get over grief and loss at month 2, and then month 4, then you can start going back to normal. There's no time frame, and some days are harder than others, and then some days are easier. But as you move away from the event horizon per se, it starts to um, it starts to level off, but not really, because there's moments where it just there's like we talked about, there's different triggers. So anything could be a trigger. So you could be having a good day, and then all of a sudden it's like
boom.
Yeah, they just hit you like a ton of bricks. So it's different.
So you talked about work.
Work, yes.
You had just started a job whenever all of this happened.
I was only there for a month.
A month, and in general, most of the time, men kind of don't get the same benefits as far as things like this at work.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you were supported from a work aspect while you were going through this? Not to mention the fact that you had just lost your son, but I was literally still in the hospital and would be for a while.
Yeah.
After that.
Yes and no. I think at first they were initially supportive because we had lost Jace, and then you were still in the hospital. But after about 2 weeks, they were kind of over it. So I think at first they were like, all right, we're sympathetic that you lost a child and your wife's in the hospital. Okay, we still got stuff to do at work. So it was like the dollar was more important than a life. So, and then when I got back to work, like, even if you lose somebody, you're not gonna be
5 days is not enough.
Yeah, you're not gonna be 100% together mentally, and then to lose a child the tragic way we did, and almost losing you and still having me in the hospital, it was a mental roller coaster. And then trying to make sure that a multi-million-dollar business is still functional and productive is also, it presents its own set of challenges. So it's like when I came back to work after about 3 days, which was so about 2.5 weeks after everything happened, it was like, all right, now we need you to do what we hired you to do. So it was like, okay, yeah, we understand all that, but we still got product we got to get out. So it was, they didn't, once I got back to work, it was like, okay, you're back now. So like, we don't care what you got going on outside of work. You need to compartmentalize, and you can't do that. You can't compartmentalize the death of a child that, especially your first, well, I mean, any child, but this was our first child together. Well, our first child, period. But it was just so much that went into it, and then just have that taken away, and then a job not really care. And I was like, yep, this is it for me. I'm getting out of here. So after about 5 or 6 months after that, I left from there because I hated that place. Yeah.
So, if you could change one thing, what would that be?
If I could change one thing, I would have taken you to the hospital at the first sign of trouble, which for us was in the morning when you were throwing up, because the whole pregnancy you hadn't thrown up and there was nothing abnormal about the pregnancy. So I would have, hindsight being 2020, then we could have got you there. At least it would have been sooner, and they could at least try to do something, because I think he was in distress while you were throwing up, but because you were throwing up and everything was contracting so much, you couldn't really feel it. So in my heart, I think if I would have been more persistent about taking you to the hospital, I would have been more persistent, and I would have taken you to the hospital so they could at least maybe tell us everything was all right, or whatever the case is. But that's the biggest thing.
What has your journey through and with grief been like?
What has my journey through and with grief been like? It's been a up and down one, and it's been a long one, but it has taught me a lot. So it's been an enlightening journey, and it's been a tough one, and it kind of helps you empathize. Well, it's helped me empathize more and kind of be able to relate to people more. So it's a long process, and I'm learning you can't keep it bottled up, because then it starts affecting you in other areas. So it's like grief, like any other emotion, needs an outlet, like anger, happiness, sadness. Like when you're sad, you cry. When you're angry, you might yell at somebody. But grief is a tricky one, and it presents like help. It presents like a lot of other things. So when you're grieving, you might lash out because you're angry, or you might just start crying for no reason. Well, it's not no reason, but you might spontaneously cry, and I think you have to kind of be aware of what's going on in your head, because you could think it's something else when it could be undealt with grief. So it's been a very interesting journey. So with counseling or therapy, it's helped me recognize a lot of things, like just mood swings, and how different things affect me. It's made me pay more attention to to everything that's going on. And I also learned that with grief, everybody, like I said earlier, everybody's journey is different. So like you grieve differently than I do, because I had a different experience, and my view of everything I had a total view of everything. So I saw what happened to Jace, then I saw what happened to you, and then like all of that was kind of going on at the same time. So well, like we said in the earlier podcast, it created some PTSD. So that was another variable that kind of complicated the grief situation. So it was a lot. I mean, it's still a lot. So it's a challenging process.
So why do you have no shades on your head?
I don't know, man. I didn't take them off. Come on, man. Ask the next question. Ariana, nobody else worried about these shades but you, man. Come on, man.
What do you do?
Does it bother you? No. Does it bother anybody else? No, nobody said anything. So,
So what do you do to help you cope with it?
I can't hear you.
What do you do to help you cope with grief?
What do I do to help me cope with grief? Different things.
That's
Because like I don't really have a go to. Well, I do have a go to thing.
track.
Track. I coach track. I coach track and field, and um, it
TCE?
TCP.
TCP.
TCP, part of the TCE umbrella. Shout out to Amy Perkins and William Perkins and Ray. Also, so coaching track. So okay, with Jace, with losing Jace, there is a J-sized void that cannot be filled, right? So our phones are ringing, so don't pay that any mind. So with losing Jace, there's a J-sized void that cannot be filled. But with coaching, so with coaching, there the kids show they kind of helped me through the whole situation. Like my goddaughter Titi, she when I used to get to practice after everything that happened, when I would get to practice, she would give me a hug every single time we had practice, and like it was almost like without me telling her, she knew like everything that was going on, and she kind of sensed like something wasn't right. So she would come up and hug my leg every day, and she wouldn't let my leg go. This is hard. I gotta keep going. So
So your kids?
yeah, so coaching with so TT would always hug me, and she wouldn't let me go until I hugged her back, and that was kind of that I don't know that really resonated with me, and it just showed me that kids are on a different frequency or wavelength than we are, and they know a lot of things sometimes without us telling them. And like all my kids really responded well to that, and they were all real loving, and it just it changed everything for me. So it just like that was all like going to practice was also where I could focus on something other than the loss and something other than worrying about you. I could focus for 2.5 hours straight without thinking about anything else. All I thought about was the progression of the kids, how to make them better, what changes we needed to make them better. So it was like I couldn't pour any energy or time or whatever, anything extra into Jace because he wasn't here. But coaching or being around the kids allowed there was that was an outlet, like we talked about, that was an outlet for me. So like instead of having, because we had so well. I mean, we still have so much love for Jace, and we had so much love for him, and it was like with the pregnancy or with him about to come, it was like we had so much love to give, and like everybody did, like our whole family, everybody was ready to love on him because it was both of our first child, and it was another grandchild or cousin or nephew or whatever. A lot of our family was expecting him just like we were, so it was like so much love was was built up and we couldn't let it out. So by going to practice and coaching the kids and just being around all the kids, it was like, okay, I can still pour this love out to somebody's not, pent up, like just waiting to get out. So, and also writing helped out a lot too.
You wrote a lot.
Yeah, I'm still, I'm still working on that. It's just so I wrote a lot, especially the early experience because like I wanted to put it in a book so people could see, that journey, through everything, the beginning, uh, you know, when we lost him, the whole hospital process, and then afterward, our journey afterwards, like our journey through healing, our journey with faith, our journey with each other, how it helped our marriage get better. It didn't collapse it like it can. So because all we heard, oftentimes that uh,
When something like this happens,
a tragedy like this can either implode a marriage or help it get better. So it helped us get better. It helped me with my communication, kind of helped me figure out what I needed to do to somewhat get myself together so I could help take care of you, because I at least wanted to be somewhat stable when you got out of the hospital, because excuse me, I didn't know what the journey for you was gonna be like. I knew, we were both gonna be loving parents, but like I just wasn't sure how it was gonna affect you. I the original thought was that it was gonna affect you worse than it did me. Turns out it was the other way around.
But again, our experiences were different.
Our experiences were very
while
different.
you were dealing with a lot of stuff, I was unconscious. So it was just I came in after the climax was over.
Yeah. So I had to make sure all the doctors were on their game, and
I'm just kind of sitting there trying to survive. So.
Yeah. So it was those two outlets were the main ones for me. But now that we moved into the new house, cutting my grass and make sure my grass is together, it's 4 days. But whatever, who's counting? That is, for me, that is an outlet because it's something that's continuing to grow, something that I can, not necessarily see immediate results, but you can see results in a week to 2 weeks. But it's something that is cultivated that I can kind of put myself into some type of control, because so with losing Jace, we didn't really have any control over it, which is very similar to the pandemic that's going on now. Right? So a lot of people are kind of locked up in the house, as it were, loosely. Yes. So people are locked up in the house. So that in itself is kind of stressful, because people are used to going out, like now it's starting to get warm outside. They're used to going to amusement parks or picnics or playing out in the yard or doing whatever, hanging out with friends, so that kind of develops its own set of issues. So people start getting antsy and anxious, kind of developing some cabin fever. So I don't know if you've all read articles, but the rate of domestic violence and child abuse and just arguments and all kind of different stressors on people are causing a lot more abuse to take place, because people are put in basically they're put in a cage with somebody or they're put in a house, and if you already have problems, this is probably only gonna exacerbate them. It's not gonna really help out, but it gives you opportunity to learn yourself and figure yourself out and figure what it should teach you how to communicate with your spouse and your children and all that stuff. But I don't know if everybody's taking the time to figure that out. There's, like I said, there's no blueprint for what we're doing, for what other people have done. It's kind of doing what works for you. So it's just I don't know how to give advice on that. I'm just what works for us. Yeah. This is what works for us. So I would say if I could give a bit of advice, just do what works for you, and don't worry about
find what works for you.
Find yeah. So you might have to try different things and kind of figure out as you go along. Just like with parenting, like there's no like your child isn't gonna be the same as my child because they're not growing up in the same environment. So what works for you? So your child might learn visually or auditorily, and my child might learn by doing. So it's you have to try different things to figure out what's going to work for you, your family.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome. I try.
So how do men support men in situations like this?
Men supporting men, that's a good one.
I know. I wrote that one myself.
Yeah, so men supporting men, that's different too. I would say, make it okay to talk about. Mm-hmm. Like nobody really talks about it because men are expected to be the strong ones, the rock, the shield, the umbrella, the covering, all of that. They're expected to be everything but vulnerable. So I would say if you do have a friend that's going through that, make it a safe place for them to, go through to go through something like that. I mean, you don't necessarily have to cry about it every time, but
ask them if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, I would say make it okay for them to reach out, because men aren't gonna be like, I got this thing on my mind, and I'm dealing with the death of my son, because nobody really makes it okay for them to talk about. So I would say, make it okay for them to talk about, and just, not. I guess you have to know your friend. I would say don't be afraid to ask if you want to talk about it, like, because they might not know how to broach the situation. So, just like with suicide, you can't just go lay that on everybody, because losing a child is such a heavy topic. You can't just be like, hey, I lost my child, I need to talk about it. Although you could, if your support system or your friend group is strong enough to handle that, then you should be able to go to them. But I would just say, as a friend, just create that environment, whether it's over beers or drinks or wings or football games or whatever. Just make it an environment that it's okay for another man to be like, hey, I got some stuff going on, can you just listen to me? And I would say this can go for men and women. Don't try to solve the problem. Like, if somebody's coming to you to vent, don't try to fix the problem. Like, just listen, because like I don't need you to fix my problem. Like, I'm trying to figure it all out.
Fix the problem.
Yeah. If I could fix the problem, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So this could go with like with couples, or listening to your children or parents, or if you have an independent child, like whatever. Just listen first, and then maybe offer advice or suggestions. Don't necessarily try to force your force your opinion or your suggestion or your correction or your fix on it. Just listen. Like I think that would kind of help solve a lot of problems. Just listening, because everybody doesn't want a solution.
People always want to react.
Yeah, like I don't. Everybody doesn't always want a solution. Sometimes, like, yeah, they just want to vent. Like at work, a lot of people come to me and be like, Brandon, I got this going on, I got that going on. This person isn't doing that. Blah blah blah. Okay, so what do you want me to do to fix this problem? Like, is there something that I need to do?
I need you to be nice.
Yeah. Well, not well. I'm I'm trying to fix the problem, but like first of all, I want to know if do I need to fix the problem? Because if I don't need to fix the problem, I'm gonna shut up. Okay, I'll just listen. But if you want me to help you fix the problem, tell me. So I think it kind of goes both ways. So if you're gonna go to somebody, it's like, look, I just need you to listen. Don't try to fix it. Just listen. And like, I think with that kind of helps take the pressure off of who you're talking to, because in their mind, like, okay, with men, their inherent desire is to fix problems. Like, I want to fix the issue. I want to fix the problem. Like, what do I need to do to help you solve this problem? When if you just go to them, if you start off with like, I don't need you to fix it. I don't need you to do anything. Just be present with me in this moment. I think that would take the pressure off of both of you, and it kind of makes it a more productive experience or conversation. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
I think that is it. What would you say? I think we kind of already hit on that though. What would you say to a father that's going through this right now?
What I say to a father that's going through this right now, I would say that, like the old gospel song, trouble doesn't last always.
So? No.
Yeah. So, to a father that's grieving right now, like especially if it just happened, it's gonna be hard at first, and as you get away from the event horizon, it becomes bearable. Yeah, I didn't want to say easier to deal with, but I guess simply put, it does become easier to deal with, because like Rafael said, it's a new norm. So it becomes it's kind of weird. Like we talked about in counseling, it's grief. Sometimes early on, it's something that you carry with you. You can't just put it down somewhere and then pick it back up later. It doesn't work like that. Now it becomes a part of you. So it's something that you kind of carry on, you carry with you, and just kind of learn, move forward. Yep, you learn to deal with it, so you move forward with that. But the bag doesn't have to be heavy all the time. So by talking about it and trying to deal with it, it does help the load become bearable. So it doesn't last always, and there will always be moments. There will always be moments where you might lose it, or you might see a child where makes you think about what you lost or what could have been, or all of that. So I would just say to a father that recently lost somebody, just it gets bearable as time goes on. But like I would say, like, don't bottle everything up. Let it out. Feel the emotions, or feel like whatever's going on. Like if you're angry, get it out. If you're sad, cry. If you're whatever the emotion is, acknowledge it. Feel it, and then let it go.
And figure out how to move out, get out of the moment.
Yeah, I think that's what helped me out a lot too, was knowing that I couldn't keep all of that bottled up, because with it bottling up, it causes other problems. So it causes anxiety, it causes stress, causes anger, it causes all the emotions that you don't want. and all emotions that you don't need. So it there's no stopping it. Like it's like a train coming down the track. You're not gonna stop it. You just gotta grab on and hold on. Yep. Wait to the next stop and get off. But I would say just not necessarily enjoy the ride, but acknowledge the ride, feel it, yep, process it, and go on with it.
And it's okay not to be okay.
It's okay to not be okay because there are gonna be, especially early on, there will be a lot of moments that
you want to punch the wall,
among other things. Among other things, like, so I wanted to invite a few doctors outside, but I was not allowed to.
So,
yeah,
the usual.
You know, you lose a kid, everybody gotta pay,
Everybody
man.
gotta pay.
So it's you know, don't. So my advice is don't hold it all in.
Don't be
talk to somebody. Let it out and be there for your spouse or significant other or whatever the case may be.
But men need support too.
Men do need support too, and it's okay for men to not be okay because nobody allows men to not be okay.
And they are also human.
So don't expect men to maybe not cry in the middle of the night because they don't want anybody to see what they're going through, or they don't want anybody to see them vulnerable or whatever the case is. So I would say also, if you're a spouse supporting a man or like a wife or whatever, if you're supporting that man, make it okay for him to be not okay. Let him be his complete self, because grief and sadness and anger is all a part of that. It's all a part of you being a complete human being. So a man should also feel that, because if he does keep that anger and aggression and the hurt that he felt from losing a child, is gonna come out in other ways. And like, so if you have another child afterward, he could, be mad that he lost the other kid and take it out on a new kid, or he could take it out on his wife, or he could go into a depression. A lot of bad things could come out of it, but a lot of good things can also come out of it if you make it a healthy environment. So it's not something that should be done alone, because when we went to that service, there was a guy that said, you're lucky, count yourself lucky to have, the support of your wife, because he had to go through it himself. And he was like, that she just left. She up and left, and she couldn't deal with it, and she left him. So it was, and you could just see the hurt and the pain in his face. Like, it was, and I knew what he was going through. I could feel it, because like I had just gone through that, and like, you don't want to compound that, and like to see him. I can't imagine doing this by myself. I cannot imagine having to go through something like this by myself. It just, and you can see how something like this would devastate a marriage or a couple or a family. It just, yeah. We just have to do better with being available and supporting and making an environment that is conducive to growth, and make it a safe space. Like, so if you don't have that safe space or a safe place to talk to somebody, I would recommend counseling or therapy or something of the like, because they're professionals. They're professionals for your mind. So You go to a professional to get your hair and nails done, although a lot of them are closed now.
Not during COVID, but
you
get what
can't,
he's saying.
yeah, you can't do that. But when all of the restrictions do lift, I would what a lot of people
teletherapy though.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, I think, just off of this pandemic, just from being in the house or stuck in the house, with the kids that they said the teachers couldn't teach when it was actually the parents' fault. But whatever. That's another story. However, I think a lot of people are gonna need counseling or some type of therapy to kind of process everything that's going on, because nobody's used to being forced to stay in the house. So going through all of that, it wasn't normal. So you use professionals to build your house, something that you live in, 5, 10, 20, 30, whatever years. Professionals build it. So a professional can help you rebuild your mind or help you clean out that space, because the mind is a very complicated landscape. So I would say seek out counseling or professional help to get your mind together. Okay.
Do you have any last words? You want to talk about your wife and how wonderful she is?
Well, I mean, she's kind of said so much. Are there any questions that could be on the live that we should answer?
I can't see them.
You can't see them on it?
No, because this is my.
Let's see. Hold on, the phone's far away, so I might not be able to see it. Please visit Jace's journey. Oh, my lovely mother-in-law said I went target practicing. So I do shoot. So shooting, sending a little bit of lead downrange kind of helps with relieving some stress, if you will. Amy, hi Amy.
Hi y'all.
She says mental health is extremely important. Vulnerability needs to be okay. Definitely be vulnerable and let your vulnerability out. I don't see any other questions. Tasha is there, but she didn't.
She said no questions right now. Okay.
No questions. No questions. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us on this conversation. We're gonna be working on a list of topics and potential guests to come on. So we want to get a therapist or a psychologist perspective on everything. We also want to get a doula's perspective, because the doula can be that stand-in for a husband who may have to work, or a single mother or a single parent, or whatever the case may be. We want to get a doctor's perspective, nurse's perspective, maybe other family members, because going through all of this, we have really good familial support. So our families were integral in part in helping us navigate through this, because when one of us, or me in particular, wasn't able to help to carry the burden, then my mother, her cousins, my sisters, her brother, Shamika, Keisha, Sean, everybody is like Tasha. A lot of people brought us stuff in the hospital. They made sure we ate and all of that stuff. So I would say if you know somebody that's going through that, just call them or text them. It's like, hey, if you need anything, let me know, or I'll drop you off something, or whatever the case is. Just because going through something like that, you don't think about calling other people to be like, hey, I got this on my mind, I'm going through this. Like, they're not thinking about you. But it's not that they're selfish, it's that there's so much other stuff on their minds that it's just impossible to think about your other family. So just, I would say, if you know somebody that has gone through something like that, reach out to them and, let them know that you're available. Yeah, and it'll.
And it's okay not to know what to say.
Yeah.
But don't say stupid stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you can always have another child. Or
Yeah.
Some dumb
Don't.
God's plan or any of that.
Yeah.
Like,
Because going through that, nobody wants to hear
nobody
that.
wants to hear that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not. Don't say it's God's plan
Yeah,
or
don't do that.
you know.
Well, you can always have other kids.
Yeah.
That never say those things.
Luckily for us, nobody said that. So don't you say that. Just just be available. It's like, hey, I'm thinking of you. I ain't gonna keep you long. You know, let me know if you need something.
Yeah.
I'll call you back. Whatever. Just present it like that, and you should be okay. But we're coming up with some other topics. If you got anything you think we should talk about, shoot us an email, a DM, text message, whatever. But we really do appreciate you guys tuning in and your support. So thank you. We love you, and we will talk to you later. All right. And we're logging off, I think.